Okay, I'm just texting Sharon because she can't get in. Okay. Okay. So Evan is going to join late. And so we'll get started. Okay. All right. So this is the Recreation Advisory Committee meeting of February 17th, 2022. We're fully remote tonight. I will look for public speak if there's anyone out there for public speak.
Do you have someone in the audience, but the hand is not raised? So I'm going to assume they're just here to listen.
Okay. Okay. If by chance, Mia, someone named William Billows shows up in the audience, can you bring him in?
That he is here. Sure, I will bring him in.
Well, bring him in. Hi, Will. How are you? Hello. So everyone, so in lieu of public speak, I'll introduce you to Will. Will is a sophomore at Nauset High School, and he is our student representative now on the Recreation Advisory Committee. So welcome, Will. We're happy to have you here. And if at any point you have any questions or comments, we can't wait to hear from you. And if you just want to sit back and take it in, that's fine too. And if we go on for too long, feel free to whatever you need to do is fine. Okay, so the next order of business is approval. I'm sorry. So for Will's sake, let's go around and quickly introduce ourselves. I'm Tracy Murphy. I'm the chair. Anne.
Anne Sigsby. Welcome, Will.
Joan.
Joan Francolini. Nice to see you, Will.
Sharon.
Sharon Bassa. Hello.
Alan.
I'm Alan. Will, I'm the Director of Recreation.
And Carol. Oh, you're muted. That's
Hi, Will.
quick.
I'm Carol Coonihan. Welcome.
Chad.
Hi, Will. I'm Chad Small. I'm glad you're there.
And Morgan.
Hi, Will. I'm Morgan Stewart. Nice to see you.
Okay, so thank you. We'll move on. We did have Kyle at one point, but maybe we'll get him back. I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes for January 20th.
Motion to approve the minutes from January 20.
And a second?
I don't think I could second them because I wrote them.
I'll second them. Any discussion? Okay, we'll go to a vote. Tracy Murphy, aye. Chad?
Hi.
Anne?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Sharon?
Aye.
Okay, that's it right now for voting members. Okay, and the next item is the Recreation Director's Report.
Wait,
So
one
Alan,
second. Tracy, I think we have to approve the minutes from December because I made changes to them based on the catch that Alan made of the recount. Do we have to reapprove?
I think we made a motion to approve them with that change.
Okay, great, thanks.
So I think we're okay, but thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Alan, we'll turn the floor over to you for the Rec Director's Report.
Yep. Winter's almost finished, wrapping up. We've got a youth basketball that's got a couple more weeks to go. We have a February vacation sports camp at the elementary school next week. We've got ice skating next week. Adult programming is going very well. We have pretty good participation despite some weather issues. And despite some people that go south for the winter, the numbers are very good. Classes are continuing. So it's been a very, very a good winter. We've had some very good basketball games. The teams continue to practice on weekends. Let's see what else is going on. We had a nice girls youth basketball game the other night. The Nauset High School team showed up to cheer us on and cheer on both teams, actually. It was Brewster versus Orleans, and the high school kids and coaches were there to cheer us on. So it was a good night of basketball. Good games last night for the boys, 5th and 6th grade. Anticipating a good finish. We've got some makeup games that had been postponed due to weather. So we'll be extending the season probably about another week beyond what we had normally planned.
Thank you, Alan. Any questions for Alan? You all received the rec director's report. Sharon.
I just wanted to let you know, Alan, and I know you said that there's still a lot of people doing the adult fitness, but the My Rec report says that there's only 6 that are registered for February, and the website reads that it's still happening in Eldridge Park.
That's
I didn't
because
know
it
if-
is happening at Eldridge Park.
I thought it was happening in DPW.
No, it only happens in DPW, Sharon, when the weather is
Ah.
inclement.
Okay, I thought they had
So-
moved to an indoor spot.
No, it
Okay.
did not.
Ellen, I think the fact you can get 6 people in this weather outdoors is pretty fun.
Yeah. I do want to follow up though on the discussion last month about high school basketball, and it was brought to my attention that there were 100 kids that tried out for the basketball team at the high school, and it was asked of me to follow up on possibly running an intramural program for those kids. I sent an email to the athletic director at Nauset to actually get the numbers, and we're told that 50 kids tried out for the boys, 42 were selected, and for the girls, 22 tried out and 22 were selected. So 100 did not try out. It was a lot less.
Alan, you told us that you were going to reach out to other recreation directors to talk about working on something like that. Did you do that?
Yeah, we had that meeting today.
So
Yeah,
any
it's
interest?
just, it's not feasible at this time with those numbers and just with gym availabilities and things like that. I mean, it might be something we could look at in the future for possibly next winter, but certainly not for this winter.
So one of the things that occurred to me was that, I asked you in my email to talk a little bit about gym availability and how that scheduling works. So I'd love to hear that in a minute. But as we're wrapping up seasons, this is, interestingly enough, it was this time of year 3 years ago that, where the rec committee, for better or worse, was born out of March and April, where it's still crummy weather, and kids who have participated in programs, whether through the schools or through the rec department, and their families get used to a certain level, at least in my household, of weekly exercise output of energy, and suddenly everyone's at home all the time because it's still raw and cold outside, and that the gyms are sitting there. So as we head into a time of year when the gyms aren't being used for basketball games and basketball practices, could we consider, or we being you, consider something like an open gym opportunity for different age groups so that kids can, be using those spaces rather than them sitting empty? Like that would also kind of, satisfy the concern that there aren't enough people because so many people made the teams that in between seasons, kids might be looking for something to do.
Most likely for this year, no. For the future, if we get some increase in staff, absolutely.
Okay, so will we have anything running in March.
Will we have anything running for basketball? We'll
For
have our youth
programming.
basketball program.
Once basketball
Well,
is
may
done.
may I say something?
Sure, Chad.
It was very interesting, and I have no interest in curling. However, they are doing that is it Charles Moore, the ice skating rink?
Mhm.
And I'm paying $50 for, from 9:30 to 12:30 to learn how to play curling. I just want to get out of the house and do something new.
Yeah.
But I got to thinking, well, there's a collaboration. Do we do anything with that ice skating rink? Because when I look at the list of things that go on in the winter, I understand that for the adults, it's really limited. There's the exercise thing. But could you have 50 and over skating at Charles Moore for people? Could you have hockey games for people 50 and over or for adults? I don't know if anything's been worked out with that. I know they're a private enterprise and maybe they don't want to work with the town. I mean, I might be opening a can of worms that I don't know anything about, but I'm going and I'm paying $50 to do something that I really don't care about, but I'm going to do it.
You should have come to our curling demo last spring. We had a curling demonstration at an intro to curling at the rink last spring. It was run by the Lower Cape Curling Club.
Yeah, it's located in Brewster, as a matter of fact, the
Oh, is
club.
it?
Or that's where I mailed my $50 to. But I guess the more important thing is not my playing curling. It is the collaboration or the cooperation with the ice skating rink. Is there something that we can do there?
There are possibilities, Chad, for all of those things. Probably not in the immediate time frame.
Kyle?
Thanks, Tracy. So I think while trying to see about adding programming and open gyms and collaborations, I think right now as we're heading into budget season and rec has been kind of taken out of the DPW budget talks, I think this is a prime time for us to say, well, we can get more programming, we can get more collaboration if we get more staff. And we move from a one-man shop to a two-man shop. And I think that's a big part of where the rec advisory committee can make an impact on recreation and the recreation department is by supporting the department in increasing its size. We have limited hours and limited manpower. And while I appreciate all the ideas about collaboration and adding things, I think that the biggest piece that we can have an impact with the department itself is to advocate strongly for an additional staff member.
That's fine, but I asked a simple question. Has there ever been any discussions with the ice skating rink in the past to programs? That's all I asked.
I understand, Chad.
With you,
and
but
he
I
does
asked a
do
simple
open
question.
skates and stuff. No, but he does open skates. I think the point of the conversation is we have 35 hours for recreation and one person doing it. I think it's time for this committee to say we support the recreation department in growing the recreation department because that's how we're going to grow the programming. I don't think, asking Alan to continue to do things. I mean, we've asked him about open gym for 3 years now. And he has only so much availability. I'm not in charge of his schedule. He reports to his bosses and they have his schedule. I think if you add another 35-hour position, you are likely to see open gyms. You're likely to see more collaboration with the ice rink. I think I just don't see how you don't get additional stuff when you have an additional staff member.
I agree.
think that's where we really need to focus our efforts right now.
I hear that and I agree. But at the same time, you can have as much staff and as much money to run programs as we could have a 5-person staff and double the budget, but if there's not sort of an appreciation or an interest in something like open gym in between sports seasons and something for kids to run around on Saturday mornings, like, I don't think it's a staffing, like, I guess that's where I was getting at. I think that we have been asking for 3 years, and I fully think and support a full-time assistant and Alan getting 5 more hours. At the same time, it seems to me that if there was a real interest on the part of the recreation department, it might have happened in the past 3 years. And so I feel like I'm still in the position of banging the stupid open gym drum, because I really think that, like, if you go by the Eastham basketball court, up until December, up until the first snow, it's lit, and there are kids of all ages playing and adults playing, and hours and hours and hours. And that is such a great community happening. And then it has to go away for months and months in winter. And I just think we've got these open gyms, that is going to continue to be like, that's what brought me here in the first place. And I am still not getting any feedback from the recreation department that it is anywhere on the list of priorities. So so I hear what you're saying. I agree we have to support with funding and staffing, but I will keep asking for open gym until we get open gym, which might mean I keep asking for it forever, but there we are. Sharon?
So I agree with both of you, with Tracy and you, Kyle, and that we do need more people in the department, but we had open gym before. When the department was smaller and had fewer hours, we had open gym. And then it went away. So, and it's never come back. So I guess, I feel like there's a little, me wondering what is going on from March 5th until April 20th, when programs start up again. There's this big hole, void of nothing going on except for the adult fitness class, which runs continually. So I'm just wondering why we haven't tried to find something to go in those slots. Alan?
I'm Sharon, you know what, I do a lot of timing, getting ready for spring, getting ready for summer. We're doing a lot of interviews for jobs. I mean, I'm not commenting on a specific program and why it's not running. I'm just not doing it. I've explained it. I just said to Tracy, or it was Chad or someone, when they asked me about open gym or one other thing, and I said or ice skating or something, I forget, and I said at this time, no. And that's the answer I'm giving you. I don't have the ability to run these programs and get ready for spring and do a spring April vacation program and get ready for other kids' activities that we do, softball, t-ball, we're doing various other activities, we're getting ready for summer, to simply, I've explained it as best I can.
Okay, Joan, and then we'll move on.
I would just like to state, I would love us to move forward with this little bit of let's look backwards, let's look backwards, let's look forward. Let's support Alan for getting a full-time person and moving him full-time. Then let's say he's got the person. Now do we have an open gym? Now do we have collaboration? Alan has said he's going to give us this all. The only way we're going to get it is if we really do what Kyle said, support him getting another person. And then if we don't get an open gym, then we can say, okay, Alan, you're not delivering. But we're at an impasse right now. I say, let Alan run it how he needs to run it right now, give him the person, and then let's see what happens. That would be my vote, because we've been going around on this for a long time, and it's not going to change. I agree with Kyle until Alan gets a second person.
Okay, I just hope I hope it changes then. Alan, I have 2 other questions on the report. One is, when does spring program registration open up?
the last week of February.
Okay. And that's with the 10 days for residents?
Yep.
Okay. And then could you briefly talk about how the gym scheduling works? I know there have been, in looking at the high school renovation project, that's going to put pressure on the other gyms in the area because there will be a time where the high school gym isn't available. And I know just through my own kids' experience on rec sports and the basketball league, how difficult making those practice and game times work is. So can you just quickly explain what the process is? Like, are things blocked out at the beginning of the season, or do you have set times, and what that's like?
Well, you fill out an application for use of the facility at the middle school or at the elementary school, submit it in, and it goes to them to make you show them what you're looking for. Obviously, sticking with Nauset Middle School, their school sports have priority. So from the winter, we have no access to the middle school gym until 6:15 in the evening, regardless of the night, because they're boys and girls basketball teams, and they have at least 4 of them. They have 2 boys and 2 girls. They have practices after school. So at 6:15, that's when we can go in and we can have access to the gym to run our games and an occasional practice. I have the gym on Saturdays for my basketball practices at the middle school because they don't use the gym. And at the elementary school, it's a similar process to filling out a request form. We have no access to the gym until 5 o'clock or at least 5:30 in the evening because of the OES after school program that runs, and they have access to the gym and they have access to the cafeteria. So at best, recreation can get in there at 5:30. However, Nauset Regional Youth Basketball has the gym for their team's activities Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, I believe, for practice. So we can get in on a Saturday morning, and I run youth basketball, and then I run 2 soccer programs indoors. Again, that's the time frame that we use. It's a simple request form, and those are the limitations. There's no fee. We don't get charged. That's how it works.
And do you think that you have sufficient gym space access now?
No,
Okay. About how many more hours a week do you think you could fill even just with the current programs? If you have that off the top of your head, I'm just
Well, I
wondering
mean,
how big
it's-
of a deficit are you up against?
I mean, I'd like to see our basketball teams have a little more practice time. I'd like to see, and if we had more gym space, we could probably run some more long-range programming. But, when we get in there at 6 o'clock at night and we finish at 8, I mean, it's really not feasible to run a lot of youth programs after 8 o'clock. So an additional night would be good. I don't have a specific hours to say, if we had 10 extra hours, but I
Sure.
think if we had 5 to 10 extra hours, which could be one day, one night, we could potentially look at offering more activity.
And does the Nauset Basketball League, did they get priority because they pay, or do they just sign up before you do?
No, I think it's just these are 2 ongoing between recreation and Nauset Youth Basketball, which has a rather large following of teams. These are the 2 groups that access the gym the most, the rec department and Nauset Youth Basketball.
Okay. All right, Carol?
You muted,
Oh,
Carol.
Carol, you.
I think, yeah. I just wanted to go back to the earlier point that Kyle made. If we were to want to show our support as a committee for the additional hours and the additional position, how would we do that? Would it be a letter to the
I'm
school
sorry,
board?
can you just start that over?
We
Right.
already took a vote, so I think that shows our,
A vote on what?
on
The
the
additional
assistant
staff.
and the additional hours.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed something. Okay.
I think too, Carol, though, if we stay in touch with Alan or Tom and are aware of when the Board of Select is going to be specifically talking about the rec department's ask, we can
Right.
show up at public speak. We can ask to be a part of that conversation. We can make sure that the committee sends a strongly worded letter in support. I mean, a number of
That's what
different
I'm
ways that we
asking.
can.
I'm not looking, I know all those options. I'm asking Alan what he would consider supportive among all those options.
I want to say this, I don't know that getting an additional few hours in various locations would be that difficult. For instance, I'll just give you like the Nauset Middle School on a Sunday in the winter is Nauset Youth basketball. So to think that we're going to get it on a Sunday morning or Sunday night, Sunday afternoon at the middle school is unlikely because there's already an existing program there.
No,
Alan,
we're
I think
talking
she's
about
talking about
hours,
more hours for you.
labor hours, right, labor hours and a position.
Labor hours, if we get if we get a staff person, then a lot of these programs that you want and I want will happen. That's been said and
Okay,
said over and over again.
right, okay.
Oh, we will have a seat at the table at the meeting when the rec budget is discussed. We don't have a date for that yet, but
Fine, okay,
that's part of the reason why it wasn't discussed last night.
Got it.
So that there's a chance to have a broader conversation about recreation.
Tracy, one
Okay,
one
yes,
second. I saw Michael Herman come up, but then he left. Is he our,
maybe he was just checking in.
oh, okay.
Maybe he'll come back. Okay, and then survey, Alan, you had an update with Kyle, I think.
That's correct.
Do you wanna-
Kyle and I have had a conversation about how we can improve surveys and make adjustments to it. I don't know if Kyle wants to speak on it, but you know, we both feel that we can improve what we're doing. And I would prefer to work with Kyle and to get his input and help in getting it done.
Yeah, I think trying to make the surveys that we currently send out about programming a little bit more robust. The conversation that Alan and I had, I came away with an understanding of the reasoning for why they're worded the way they are. And I think it was more of a departmental answering to, you know, Alan's boss, and just wanted, like, these are the ticket points that I think are helpful for my boss to understand that I'm doing a good job. I think the committee's perspective is probably trying to do more of a greater understanding of what can be provided or where we can fill some gaps or improve. And those might be something we want to do more quarterly as opposed to after every single program. But I think we could also improve some of the programming surveys as well.
And at the last meeting, you were going to look into whether we could have an open-ended question about what improvements people would like to see. Has that been resolved or determined through a Google form?
If we go to Google, yes, we can.
Okay,
I think that's a conversation I'll have with Kyle as to whether we go to Google.
okay.
I mean, I
I mean,
think
it's like a
should have
year-long
little more-
conversation at this point with different members of the committee. So we need to know if we can have an open-ended question, because I think that's what the committee wants. So
I
maybe
mean, can the committee do a survey like we've done previously? And
that's the next agenda item. So maybe that's where we need to move to. Thank you, Kyle. All right, so if director's report is all set, then I think we'll move on. I think we've been getting closer and closer to maybe the committee just does its own survey.
You
I,
would have to clear that through the select board, just so you'll know.
okay, I think we can follow whatever process we did in 2020 when we did the first one. Thank you, Alan. So I put together just a super, super rough one. And I posted it for this week with just a little intro and then just, a top 10 programs. So we get a sense of people's priorities, new programming or ways to improve current programming. And then I threw in like intergenerational and collaborations. But so I guess I'm wondering what the committee thinks about going ahead and sending something out, just so we head into, if we did it soon, we would head into spring and summer with some grounding data about where to focus our energies. And it could be helpful, if indeed we do get, or the rec department does get more staff, or for CPC projects, or, just to kind of shape what we're doing going forward. So is there interest in the committee doing some sort of quick 5-question survey on our own or independently? Is there any feedback on the draft, which won't hurt my feelings because it was just to get something on paper. Joan.
Chrissy, I just have a suggestion. I
Mhm.
think it would be a good time to collaborate with the people we say we want to collaborate with before we send the survey out. So to ask Judy Wilson, to ask the skate park, the people that own the skate park, the We Can people. So let them have a voice in it, the library, so that they might have some questions that then aren't going to be repetitive, and maybe even the community center people who are doing that survey. So just bring everyone in before we do the work would be my recommendation. And OCT, because they're trying to do more with kids also. So
Do you have a vision for what that, by bringing them in?
maybe just write.
I mean, just getting some feedback.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm happy to work on that between now and the next meeting, and then come back to the committee with findings, if that sounds like something that might work. I just, that initial survey was so helpful, and was sort of our point of reference when we made requests and asks for the better part of the last 2 years. So I think getting some fresh information like that in would be helpful for the next 2 years. Okay, so I'll do that between now and the next meeting.
Anne's asking a question.
Anne. Mhm.
I want to just voice my wish that though we may be abandoning the automatic exit survey, simple send an email simultaneously with the closing of a program, that we not abandon it forever. That I think it's an important part of metrics, that we make that a habit. And it is something that seems straightforward, easy to streamline, easy to design, and yield information. For instance, we had a vigorous conversation about kids participating, young kids participating at the dinner hour. I think it was in T-ball. And it's the kind of conversation we can't assume we know that people are happy with the time. And simply putting on an exit survey, questions that occur to us, such as, would there have been a far better time for you and your family, for your child, for this activity? Let us know, or let us know any other things you wish to say. So I'm just making a point that much like the item I'm not going to even say the name of, that we're not discussing. We can set aside the 3-year conversation about exit surveys, but I want to say, let's return to it at a better time.
Thank you. That's an important note to get in there. Okay, the next item is preparation for the select board. As we referenced, the DPW overview of the budget happened last night, but they made a point to not discuss recreation. I posted the response to our budget priorities and our other requests from Tom and Alan. So that will certainly inform part of what we're talking about with the select board. So maybe and then we'll also be talking about the charge. So first, on this document where things are color coded, any response or questions or things that you want to be sure are highlighted when we have an opportunity to have to talk to the select board. Joan?
Alan, if you had to prioritize the things you would like to get done that you said you could do if you brought more people in, would you be able to give us that list before we go to the select board?
Yes. Where do you go?
Next week?
Oh,
maybe.
we don't have a date yet.
Okay.
I think next week is a joint meeting with FinCom,
Oh,
so I would anticipate it's not, we're talking mid-March at the earliest.
Yeah, I could do that.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Nope. My only notes were on the skateboard clinic. It says that you'll strive to find and hire a certified instructor. It says in parentheses, Knucklebones, which is the name of a certified instructor who runs those clinics. So that part of the, you don't have to find anyone. I think hopefully they're available. And then the only other thing was 2 other things. Half-day programming. I don't think we were anticipating that everyone at OES would sign up for the half-day programming. So I think certainly understandable that it's hard to pull off with just one person, but maybe with 2 people, you could limit the number of kids you could limit the number of spaces, but still run something like that. Morgan?
In Eastham, where I work, and they run the half-day program, sometimes they cycle through different grade levels and age groups. So, that limits the numbers. It's a great way to give everybody an opportunity to participate in something, but you're not inviting, K through 5.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. So that might make that more feasible than it would appear. And then the only other thing is, Alan, do you know at the towards the end, it says that you'll assist with the development and implementation of a recreational 5-year plan to address growth and facility needs. Do you know who you're?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, do you know who you're assisting? Like who does that project?
No, I don't, but I thought the Rec Advisory Committee had a charge to do a 5-year plan.
I don't think we will as of the next vote. We can go back to that. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Then the charge draft that you all received. Any questions on the charge draft? Which I think with our feedback, the select board is hoping to vote on next week.
What happens after they vote on it?
Then it's ours. We would take a vote and send it to them, and then they take a vote, and then it's our charge.
Okay.
until we need to revise it again, or
It
they
doesn't
want to
go
revise it
into
again.
the town, it doesn't go into the charter committee, none of that.
No, it's just because the select board gave us the first, it's just select board level.
Okay, thank you.
If there aren't any, oh, Kyle?
So there's a section about communications with select board and town staff outside of regularly scheduled meetings to go through town administrators. I'm just trying to figure out what that means. Are we limiting
Yeah,
the committee's ability?
My understanding is that that is something that is going into all committee charges from here on out, a reflection of some overwhelmed communication links, some communication that was happening or that has been happening that is overwhelming town employees and I guess select board members too, and trying to streamline how it's happening. But I asked about projects, because I'm certainly emailing Tom Daly a few times a month about the master plan project or other things that come up. And I was told that if you're working on something, it's fine. I think they're just trying to put in some buffers because I think maybe there have been some challenges. So does that help? Good.
Yeah, it just seems really strangely worded because it's basically
Yeah,
saying
no,
that
I
we have to go
agree.
to the town administrator to talk to Alan. And let's say Alan wants to talk to us or whatever.
I
that
agree.
Seems weird.
I mean, yeah, I totally agree. I was told not to take it personally or personally on behalf of the committee members. So we're trying to do that. And as it was explained to me, it shouldn't really get in the way of committee work and efforts. We should be able to still move ahead on everything that we want to move ahead on. Okay, so if people are okay with the draft charge, I will look for a motion to approve, and then we'll bring that to the select board.
I move to approve.
Okay, and a second? Joan, any discussion?
I second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, then Tracy Murphy, aye. Ann Sigsby,
Aye.
Joan,
Aye.
Sharon,
Yep.
Chad is all set, and Kyle?
Yes.
Excuse me, aye.
Okay, terrific. And the only other thing that I had for the select board meeting was the community coordinator position. So I don't know how far we'll get with this. It's been sitting there for a year at this point. But I'm open to committee thoughts on it. It's been budgeted for, it's just that the job description hasn't been finished. So do we want to do another push for this concept? Or I don't know if some of the things we were hoping to get out of a community coordinator will be handled by a full-time assistant. Any thoughts on that? Anne?
My thought is the following, that we ask that there be a coordinator of community life full-time position created with guidance from knowledgeable people such as Judy Wilson and the library folks, that this position be in a independent of any department and stand directly below the town administrator, and that this person is going to organize the community center without walls and prepare us for a community center with walls, coordinating all of the human services that happen throughout the town of Orleans. And that we recognize that unless this is a full-time position with autonomy and authority, that it is unlikely to be filled with a exceptional professional who can provide the services we're looking for.
Thank you, Anne. I got all of that down. Other thoughts? Joan?
All right, I know some people aren't going to want to hear this. I think we have to focus on getting Alan his person and getting Alan to full-time, and mention that this other role is important to us, but our priority's got to be right now to fund rec. I don't think the select board is going to have an appetite for adding a full-time person in this role at this point, considering I'm hearing they're trying to look to cut budgets because there's some new allocation of how the Norset High School is going to be divvied up to Orleans. I don't want to give up on the idea, but I think we have to really just be thoughtful in when we bring it forward.
Anne?
And I agree that it's not something we can make an immediate priority, but I think we are known for planning ahead, and there's not a coincidence that that took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to even get the part-time position to sit on some desks around town. It's not a coincidence that it's languished, and that we should pursue our vision that after the department is well-staffed, we still have not achieved our vision for the town. And that this coordinator of community life is intrinsic to our grand vision, and that we plan to get there one day.
Thank you. I think the vision that you present, especially bringing in Judy Wilson in the library and other people, is a really robust one. And I think if nothing else, I think Joan's right about our priorities right now, and being mindful of the limited budget. But I also think clarifying that vision is important, and that's a step forward, because right now the vision for that position is pretty murky.
The other thing is Harwich just announced they're hiring a director of cultural life. And I don't know what
they have a cultural center. And I think the old, is it the old elementary school is their cultural center. And my understanding is that Carolyn Carey has been running both the community center and the cultural center. And then they had, I think it was one of the artists in residence actually was kind of serving as a cultural center director. But now they're bringing in someone to do it in a full-time capacity. So that person already has a building and everything, but it's pretty cool. Okay, anything else on the community coordinator? Okay, we'll move to CPC updates. Joan, did you have anything?
We had our meetings and we got it approved to do the master plan. And so that's really the only thing from our group. What was also approved was fixing the traffic light crossing over by Snow, that bad intersection on Main Street. They're going to put in a wired crossing signals, because right now it's solar and the solar does not work very well. It's not consistent. And then CPC did approve the bike path that is on Baker's Pond on the other side. So those are and they approved Putnam Farm. So, you know, not a lot of our projects, but a lot that sort of have the rec name underneath them. I do want to throw something out there. There are a bunch of towns that are going after purchasing land for recreation. And I do think it's an opportunity for us as a team to look at for this year of what land could be purchased, or maybe put that in the survey so that we can have open space and build outdoor recreation. And think bold and big, because people are coming to CPC with big asks. Doesn't mean they get it, but at least it gets into people's heads. So I would just like to put that out there.
Okay. I don't have a master plan update. I'm just still in touch with the school committees and with the superintendent. But it's still rolling. It's just rolling slowly, but that's okay. Any other CPC? Oh, and I told you in my email that that I did the storybook trail last week, and it's really great. Even so, my youngest is 10, so she's a little old for the book, but it was still sort of the fun of going from one page to the next and leaving me in the dust, you know, running. She did the whole loop. I didn't see her for most of the time we were there. It was like, I can't wait until the next book so we can go back.
That was that was sort of our soft run to see how it worked, and like if things got wet and how everything was working. And in April, there's going to be a real kickoff and a different book, a bigger book. And we'll have an event at the library. But with the COVID numbers, when we were sort of starting to plan, we decided February break wasn't a great time to probably do something at the library. We were going to wait till the weather got a little bit nicer and do a big kickoff over the April vacation. And that will be when we'll start really promoting it. But we just wanted to sort of see how everything worked out. It's really sweet and fun. I hope everybody gets out there. I did it with two of my friends, some 50-year-olds, and we did the trail, and then we had great fun, and it was in the snow, and the book's all about making tracks in the snow. So I hope people get out there. Everybody's super excited about it. OCT, the library, it's been a really fun project to work on. What a great group of people. Thank you, Joan, for really, helping with everything. It's been a really great experience, and real kudos to Alex at OCT. Like, he really just led this group. So, and Anne too. I mean, everybody. That's what's so nice about working with such great people in town. It's just, there's a lot of talented people out there. So that was fun. We'll have to find a new project now.
Well, I mean, there's also just so much, like, I was thinking it would be fun if they did one where there were riddles on each one, that families could work on together, or if a class was coming, you could throw any kind of book about the unit you're studying in there.
Well, I was thinking you could have kids artwork. You could do like a unit.
Oh yeah.
Have like the kids learn about like different things on the hiking trail. I mean, the possibilities are endless. So yeah.
So it's just great to see it up and running. Okay. Anything else on CPC? Anne.
I have a brief update on the kayak program, just in terms of the timeline. Last month, with Joan's help, we decompressed everything, understanding that the money was available for a full another year. So, and I've talked to Nate Sears, and we don't have to present the fee schedule this spring to be ready for next year, because Nate feels strongly, and it makes sense, that we piggyback on the mooring fees the first go round, just with the theme being keep it simple. So he will be able to send out the letters, and how to do that to the whole population is a question that needs to be answered. But and what our task will be, and Chad has agreed to help, blindly not knowing what he was agreeing to, he still agreed to help. We need to develop a protocol for the rental process for a berth on the kayak racks, a process for the lottery, and how to communicate with people. So our hope is there have been people researching all of that we can pull it together, and then by, actually by the fall, it will be finalized so that the letters can go out and people can sign up or enter the lottery by this time next year, February or March, things would be sorted through. Anyway, we have a rough timeline. The shellfish and waterways people have surfaced, and we'll connect with them. They may want to tweak the sites or have some ideas on new sites. So that's where we are.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, John Avalar Circle. After the January meeting, I went to the HAC meeting with Carolyn, who came to who spoke at Rec. And there's like, I couldn't quite get the numbers down. We were at least close to half the board being in support of giving permission to put up a basketball hoop that's already owned. One of the residents already owns it, but they just don't have permission to put it up. But there was also concern about liability. So we have a few things to pursue, and Carolyn and her husband are pursuing, and I'm trying to pursue a little bit too. So that journey continues. One thing that was interesting that came up in that meeting, and then also came up when I presented the master plan was, and I just think it's worth filing away for the future and for looking at collaborations and future projects, was just the issue of whether or not, or the extent to which kids don't have access to sidewalks to get them to places to play. So the kids on John Avalar Circle are really, once they come home from school, they're really there. They're not, there's not a safe place to get on their bikes and ride back to the school to play on the fields, and there's not anywhere to walk close to them. And that's the same for a lot of kids in town. So I think there's no easy fix, but it's certainly something to be mindful of. Ideally, we end up with a community center with a couple of buses, right? That like at least shuttles kids. And I know the Bikes and Pathways Committee is working so that kids could get bike access to places. But I think the more creatively we can think about giving kids and all of us safe access to recreation, the better off we'll be. Joan?
The bike committee actually just wrote a letter to the state senators, because there is a rule right now that any any town-owned, above town, state-owned road, the minimum speed is 30, and there's a push to make that lower. And we did put in there certain roads we would like to see lower, because if the speed limit's 30, people are going 40. I mean, it's like Tonsett Road. But if we're able to bring that down to 20 or down by Skakit, there's big issues. If we can reduce the speed limit, we think people would probably go 30. So we are writing letters on that behalf of really helping us reduce some of that to make it safer, because we've also looked at the roads that were laid out and not laid out. There's a lot of roads the town doesn't own enough space to build sidewalks or build bike lanes. And there's a lot of requirements now for how big a bike lane has to be. So we're looking at other ways to get that done, and speed bumps and speed tables and lowering speed, might be our easy wins right now.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and Morgan and I know the Skakit area can be really dangerous for kids trying to get, even though they don't have to go very far to get on the bike path. It's the places, just the quick area down Skakit Beach Road that turn onto West Road is a really dangerous one. Okay. All right. Future agenda items. people had asked at the last meeting for a community center task force update, and I think it's best to do that next month. Just because it's still very, very early, and we meet next week. And we should know more next week. You think, Kyle? Okay, so like the March meeting, we should have more information.
Yeah, I
Any
really
other?
hope so we can get some good info on the firm that we hired, so.
Yes. And any other future agenda items that people want noted? Okay, then with that, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
When is the next meeting,
Oh.
Tracy?
The community center meets next on the 24th at 4:30.
And when's our next meeting?
Our next meeting is March 17th, I think.
Okay.
I think the third Thursday is the same, is the 17th, just like this Thursday.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll do a motion to adjourn.
Okay, and a second? I'll second it. All in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Will,
Thank
for
you.
hanging in there.